Hey YouTube, Fable Grimbo back here with the second part of my video on Duel Terminal 6 Part 1. So I'm going to keep going through the last half of the cards, probably get to some of the better archetype cards. Start off here with Gusto Squirrel. Weird name. 2-star Gusto tuner, 1800 defense. When it is destroyed by a card effect sent to the graveyard, you special 1 level 5 or higher Gusto monster from your deck. Not as easy to get off as you might think as far as an effect goes, as it has to be destroyed by an effect, which of course I'm not going to do that on a weak little monster like this. Gustos have better options as far as 2-star tuners in general, even 2-star tuners. So this guy doesn't quite make the cut, I'm afraid. Squirrel though, can't deny that. Next up we got Reese, Whirlwind of Gusto. This chick, pretty interesting. 1900 attack, 5-star monster. Once per turn, you can return 1 card from hand to the bottom of your deck. Target 1 monster your opponent controls and 1 Gusto monster you control, and change control of them. So essentially, she is creature swap on legs. Sort of gives Gusto the little bit of a TG feel to it. She can be a game changer. She's a little bit hard to get out. Kind of sucks if you draw her. You might have to run some subpar cards in Gusto, like a Gusto Squirrel, Gusto Thunbolt. Can also get her out, as well as Serene Psychic Witch. So those are probably your best options to get her out. But if you do change control of one of your little birds, take an opponent's best monster, gain advantage through battle. Very good card for Gustos. Next up, we got some steelsworm guys. Steelsworn Genome, 2-star, 1000 attack. This guy can be treated as 2 tribute monsters for summoning a steelsworm monster. So he's essentially a steelsworm Kaiser Seahorse. This effect would seem pretty good for steelsworms, considering that they're all about tributing out for big monsters, but on a 1000 attack body, there's no way you're going to be able to keep this guy out for a turn in order to summon a steelsworm monster effectively. So, rather meh card for steelsworms. If you had better stats, might have been good, but not so much. Next up, we got steelsworn sentinel. This guy sort of begins the anti-Gishki ritual, anti-fusion, anti-special summoning things that a lot of the other dual terminal archetypes do. When he's in face-up attack position, level 5 or higher special summon monsters cannot activate effects. Again, seems like a pretty decent effect, but on such a little monster, only has 1100 attack. Doesn't quite make the cut in steelsworms. Next up, we got steelsworm Sting. This, as far as the new dual terminal archetype monsters are concerned, this is probably one of the most splashable cards that we run in any deck. 1850 attack. When this card is sent to your graveyard, you can target 1 face-up ritual, fusion, or synchro monster on the field and destroy the target. So, for a steelswarm deck, this guy, again, it's pretty subpar, but I can definitely see him being a side deck option, or sneaking into stun decks, or other kind of decks, as synchro monsters, even with XEs, are still pretty big, and depending on the matchup, rituals and fusions still exist as well. So, okay card. Next up, we got some of the Biggens. Steelsworn Longhorn, 3,000 attack, 2-stack monster. If this guy was tribute summoned by a steelsworn monster, you can pay 1,000 life points to destroy one monster on the field. 2-stack makes him extremely slow, and the steelsworn monsters from the Hidden Arsenal 5, Dual Terminal 5, are much better than this guy, so I'd stay away from him. And then for steelsworn monsters, we get the Biggen, steelsworm Hercules. You must tribute 3 steelsworn monsters to normal summon him. And once returned, you can pay half your life points to destroy all their cards on the field. So he's essentially steelswarm JD, steelswarm Demise, except that he is much harder to get out, as you need to normal summon him with 3 tribute monsters. And even at 3,200 attack, he's pretty slow, and for a deck like Steelswarms that has a plethora of good 1-stack monsters, like Longhorn, this guy just doesn't make the cut, despite his size. Next up, we got Eva Gishki Tetraoger, 6-star ritual monster, 2,600 attack. You can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. Once per turn, you can play 1 card type, spell, trap, or monster. And both players send 1 card of the declared type from your deck to the graveyard. Your opponent can discard a card to negate this effect. So this guy is essentially either a built-in Foolish Burial for you, maybe take out one of your opponent's magic cards, or your opponent's going to have to waste a card. This guy is a pretty good option as far as a 6-star ritual monsters for Gishkis. Definitely outclasses Mind August, but there's going to be better Gishki rituals that are going to come out in later sets. So right now this guy's okay, but there will be better. Next up, we got another reprint, pretty cool reprint here, Elemental Hero Gaia. This guy first came out as a secret rare. I believe he was the first one of the manga hero fusions besides Terra Firma to come out. He got overlooked a lot up until Ab-Zero and The Shining came out, and once those E-Hero monsters came out, people started to pay attention to him as an Earth fusion for like Super Poly and stuff. So another pretty cool reprint. More hero support for the dual terminal. Next up, we got some Gem Knights. Gem Knights Citrine, 7 stars, 2,200 attack. When this guy attacks, your opponent cannot activate any cards or effects until the end of the damage step. At first, this guy doesn't seem quite amazing, but when you consider the deck can spam this guy using the effect of the Gem Knight fusion card, as well as something like Volcanic Shell, as Volcanic Shell is a Pyro type monster, and this guy only needs a Gem Knight monster and a Pyro monster, you can definitely spam a bunch of these guys out at the same time. So, pretty good fusion for Geminites. As well as Gemini Prismara. This guy, you need a Gemini monster and a Thunder type monster. Once per turn, you can send one Gemini card from your hand to the graveyard to target one face-up card on the field and destroy it. 2450 attack. Another solid fusion for Geminites. Spot removal. Solid card. Next up, Laval Stenin. 7-star Laval Synchro, 2700 attack. When he's Synchro summoned, you can send one card. You must send one card from your hand to the graveyard. And during either player's turn, when this card would be targeted by a card effect, you can banish a Laval monster from your graveyard to negate that card. So this guy offers big beater with protection, stop stuff like Deep Prison, Brio, can't bounce them, stuff like that. Pretty solid synchro option for Lavals. Next up, we get into the two big Vylon synchros, starting off with Vylon Alpha. This guy, you need a Vylon tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters. 9 stars. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target one equip spell card in your graveyard and equip it to this card. While this card has an equip card equipped to it, it cannot be destroyed by the effects of spell or trap cards, except for other equip cards. So, 2200 attack doesn't seem that big, but if you equip a Mage Power or one of the Vylon equips to him, he definitely can easily become a really big guy. Of the two between Alpha and Omega, this guy is much easier to summon in the deck. You might have to monitor yourself a little bit to summon him, but he's probably the biggest and most accessible of the two big synchros for Vylons. So he's okay. Definitely run one Vylons. Next up, Vylon Omega. This guy is really big. 3200 attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stars. You need 2 tuners and 1 non-tuner Vylon monster. When he's synchro summoned, destroy all face-up monsters that were normal summoned or set. Once per turn, you can target 1 Vylon monster in your graveyard. Equip that card to this card. During either player's turn, when effect monster effect activates, you can send 1 equip card. Equip this card to negate the effect and destroy it. So this guy, he's huge. His effect is amazing. He is impossible to summon in a Vylon deck. And that is because a lot of Vylon decks don't run very many of the non-tuner Vylon monsters. So you have to have 2 tuners, so like 2 3-stars and a 4-star non-tuner Vylon. That's probably the simplest way to get this guy out, or a 2-star tuner, 4-star tuner, and a 4-star monster. So if you can get this guy out, it's going to be GG, but pretty hard to summon. Still, if you get him out, you should win. Next up, we got Digustos Freeze. She requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Gusto monsters. When she's synchro summoned, you can target any Gusto card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And whatever battle damage you would take from a battle involving a Gusto monster, your opponent takes it instead. And this card cannot be destroyed by battle. This card is insane in Gusto decks, and what makes Gusto decks really good, or pretty good at least. So essentially you ram a lot of your small guys into your opponent's big guy, including her, and your opponent takes all the damage. She replaces herself when she's summoned by getting back a card from the graveyard. She's very good for Gustos, pretty much color the gust of wind condition. Alright, so that's it for part 2. Stick around for the conclusion of this 3-part saga.